The world has been through a whole lot these past couple of years. However, there's one obvious change that's beginning to be clearer and clearer. The growing desire of people to move towards electric vehicles is becoming more and more defined. Climate change, fossil fuels, clean energy, and all of these excerpts have been constantly repeated throughout our modern time. Change is indeed coming into the automotive industry. However, there's an automotive giant that's still struggling with this concept, and that is Toyota. In this day and age, Toyota, a brand well known for reliability and catering to the masses, is yet to respond on the growing demand for electric vehicles. Because of this, a rising electric vehicle brand from China, BYD, has been capitalizing on this absence and is now starting to encroach on the global market. All the while, the upper EV echelon has been gobbled up by Tesla. Toyota, meanwhile, is still ambiguous on its stance. Will Toyota's inaction be the Nokia moment, where the refusal to adapt led to their demise? Will BYD claim the title of the new Toyota? Or is it already too late for Toyota? But before we go through all of that, let's do a quick dive on Toyota and how they came about. On the second half of the 20th century, Toyota's market share was negligible in the Western market. The Japanese brand had a stigma attached to it, especially after the Second World War. However, this did not stop Toyota from pursuing their goals. At that time, they'd been producing superior, reliable, and much more efficient cars as compared to their American counterparts. They made cars which came with premium features as standard, good build quality, excellent interior, all of this at really good prices. Over time, the Western market couldn't look away anymore and started to take notice of this Japanese brand. During the fuel crisis of the era, the brand became more and more recognizable and eventually placed the brand as a common household name. Suddenly, people were not ashamed anymore of wearing the big Toyota name on their trucks. Gradually, they garnered more and more market share, invested and innovated the car industry, expanded their dealerships, and was relentless on their pursuit of being the top automotive brand. Toyota's reputation eventually became synonymous to reliability in the car industry, and in some extreme cases, was even considered bulletproof.
The Toyota was not dead.
I do not believe it! 0.4-liter single overhead cam four-banger is known to reach well over 500,000 miles. And the reason it's so good is because Toyota had a lot of time to perfect this engine.
Let's step back and take notice on how Toyota's evolution has similarities with BYD's. 10 years ago, no one knew what this Chinese car company was going to do, and if it will even succeed. At one point, BYD was allegedly taking their design inspirations from Toyota. And like the old Toyota, BYD carried the same stigma with all other Chinese products. When they first went out to the global market, they were not able to garner market share. No one wanted to buy a Chinese car because most saw them as knockoffs, a gamble, unknown. But over time, BYD learned, evolved, and began shifting their focus towards the EV and PHEV segments. They continued to develop their technologies, which in turn produced good results, and they then started to offer better products, with standard premium features at really good prices. They refocused their strategies and concentrated on achieving significant market share on domestic environment. And in a span of 12 years, BYD went from a no-name Chinese brand to one which is now recognized as one of the top EV brands out there, even marking their 3 millionth new energy vehicle produced recently. And similar to Toyota, an oil crisis coupled with a significant bleak global economy has triggered more EV adoption. Coincidentally, this was all in time for BYD's global re-expansion plan. BYD started to build a reputation. Like Toyota, international customers became proud owners of their vehicles. These foreign customers definitely did not see them as Chinese knockoffs, but instead a much more premium product when compared to the cars from mainstream manufacturers. But let's go back to Toyota. Over the last decade, Toyota's strategy was aimed at producing more and more traditional cars to cater the need of the global market, which at that time was mostly internal combustion cars. With its entrenched dealership network and brand name recognition, they were able to do well financially, profits from cars, parts, servicing, everything. Even with the advent of Tesla, Toyota believed that the future was never fully electric. At one point, it believed that a hybrid approach was more practical and the way of the future. During the late 90s, they developed the Prius, which was an amazing development on its debut. However, they didn't sustain this development and only limited it to minor improvements on the Prius's drivetrain and battery technology over time. To cut down on research and development spend, Toyota never really propelled the car industry towards better technology. Instead, they partnered with other car manufacturers to help develop their cars. They got Subaru, which they hold a portion of the company's shares, to develop the engine for their sporty GT86, and then once again partnered with BMW for the engine of their new Supra, all the while capitalizing on nostalgia from the millennial generation. So, what has Toyota been doing all this time? Well, you're probably aware that Toyota have been developing hydrogen fuel cell technology for cars over the years. Toyota and most Japanese car manufacturers believe that relying on electricity for car transportation would not be practical for the future. There is a risk that it potentially can overload the grid if a large number of people would be charging their cars overnight. In contrast, the Chinese government has been pushing for electrifying their cars since 2010, for the simple reason that they don't want to be reliant on overseas oil, which could make them vulnerable to Western powers, and they also need to address their environmental issues, which is a byproduct of heavy industrialization. Hydrogen fuel cell technology is a great piece of technology. However, it did not resonate well with the market. The main reason? A lack of infrastructure. At the end of the day, whilst battery electric vehicles will require some form of high-powered charging stations, it can still be charged at home by plugging it into a normal power socket. Of course, it's slow, but it can be done. On top of that, it's also easier to install a dedicated home EV charger as compared to establishing another depot for your hydrogen fuel cell car. And whilst hydrogen fuel cell cars can recharge significantly faster versus electric cars, it will still require heavy infrastructure network, which is another barrier to entry. Toyota invested tons of time and resources on a technology which they thought was greater for the industry. However, they failed to realize that the adoption of this technology requires a large buildup of infrastructure to support it. On the other hand, you have Tesla, which heavily invested on the electric vehicle infrastructure and offered a seemingly more premium car to the public, establishing a brand which is tied to forward-thinking mentality, greener future, which can be debatable. However, the most important one is premium product. Now, whilst Tesla's market can be so different to Toyota, Tesla paved the way for the EV mentality on a global scale. Suddenly, people started to realize what an EV is, what it can do, what advantages they bring. Because Toyota is a car company, which catered to a wide range of the car market, they underestimated the message that Elon Musk and Tesla were preaching to the world. Toyota believed that Tesla was only limited to a niche premium market, and that other mainstream car manufacturers were just trying to ride the EV hype, and that they, Toyota, would still end up catering to the rest of the world's automotive needs and retain their dominance. But what they didn't anticipate is that those Chinese car manufacturers, who were just confined in their local domestic market, well, they became better at what they were doing. They actually were able to make good EVs. And one of the main EV companies pushing forward was BYD, which was a vertically integrated Chinese company, meaning they sourced their own parts whilst producing their cars. BYD produced high-quality EVs at really decent prices, especially when you compare them to other mainstream car manufacturers. When BYD started their global EV expansion, Toyota realized that they needed to act quick. They knew that the Chinese giant, alongside other Chinese EV brands, will gobble up the entry-level market if they don't act fast. So, in 2021, they made an announcement that they will invest in EV car technology and will release models into the market by 2022. They redefined their strategy, and now it's all about providing the needs of different markets while offering the Toyota reliability. But that's the thing, when you've just started a new cycle of car production, there's no such thing as reliability. Toyota's EV had issues, wheels would fall off, and they had to get the BZ46 recalled. And yes, of course, they would have issues. Toyota is competing against EV companies, which had a good head start and produced over 1 million EVs, whilst they are still starting their development cycles. In Norway, there were even reports wherein Toyota's claimed EV range numbers did not add up when tested on real-world conditions. Toyota is projecting that they could build their EVs up to 12,000 per month by 2025. In comparison, you have BYD, who's currently selling more than 200,000 new energy vehicles per month. Toyota is clearly playing catch-up. But the question is, will they ever catch up at this stage? Or is it already too late?
The auto manufacturers do. And for BYD to do this, it essentially is a nod to how well they've actually been able to master the battery component of their electric vehicle.
Knowing that they're already late to the game, Toyota has pulled out its famous strategy, collaboration. Toyota has tons of financial capacity and resources to bring themselves up to speed with about anything, which in this case would include EVs. They can utilize this strength and collaborate. Rather than wasting tons of resources on dedicated research and development, they can just use their influence, financial capacity, and collaborate with other companies. As we mentioned earlier, they've done this with Subaru on the 86 and on their Mark V Supra with BMW. This time around though, Toyota has coincidentally partnered with BYD for their battery technology. Playing smart, they had this well established years in advance. Toyota claims that BYD's role in their EV adaptation is only through battery supply. However, there were some allegations and speculations that it could be more than that, with some claiming that their models are closely related to BYD's own model. Toyota has invested $70 billion to speed up their EV portfolio in partnership with BYD. With Toyota's financial capability, widespread infrastructure, well-established logistics, and of course branding, they're confident that they'll be able to compete in the EV game and secure their own market share. Toyota's strategy remains the same, to cater to whatever the automotive market needs, whether it be petrol, hybrids, EVs, hydrogen, or whatever. They just want to have a diverse portfolio. However, diversifying their portfolio would also mean less specialization, as they would be dividing their resources on different segments. And this would definitely limit Toyota's ability to spearhead any breakthrough technologies in the EV space. Knowing all of this, BYD's relentless expansion, Tesla's strengthening its hold on the premium market, and Toyota's limited EV potential, the question still remains, will BYD be the new Toyota? The short and simple answer, most likely no. But that doesn't make any sense. BYD is rapidly expanding, and they're breaking into new markets, introducing new technologies, and continuing to take away EV market share. And yes, that is correct. BYD is breaking through new markets. They're introducing formidable products and technologies. However, they're also supplying batteries to other car companies. If you're planning to take market share, you wouldn't be doing this. Why would BYD share their technology with their supposedly competitors? The reality is, BYD is primarily a battery company. Before breaking into the global stage, BYD was not even in the top 3 of EV battery suppliers. Their market share was significantly lesser. However, this year, BYD has claimed the second spot for EV battery suppliers, bringing their market share to 13.6%. Meanwhile, the current leader, CATL, has a dominating 30+% market share, which is more than double of BYD's. BYD's expansion into the global market helped reinforce their battery brand and reputation. BYD's goal was never to become the top EV manufacturer, but to further expand their battery market share. This is why they need Toyota, Tesla, and all other companies who would want to build EVs. Why would you attempt to choke out one of your potentially large battery customers, which in this case is Toyota, who's willing to pay a lot of money just to catch up in the EV game? BYD's plan was never to outcompete the other miners in the EV gold rush, but it was to supply more shovels for the miners, which in this case would be their supply of EV batteries. They're interested in establishing leadership in the battery space. From a marketing perspective, one of the purposes for proliferating their automotive division was to establish the brand on the global stage. And we believe BYD has successfully done that. Smart move? Yeah, indeed. In our next video, we're going to explore why Tesla is thinking of going for the low-end segment with affordable EVs, and likewise why BYD is encroaching on the high-end, premium, and even the luxury segment. Why are they doing this? What are they trying to achieve? And more importantly, what does this mean for all of us? If you're interested in that video, click that subscribe button so you wouldn't miss out when the video goes live.